Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Song Swap Showdown. I am Amanda Sharp, one of your co-hosts. Chris Baglio, the amazing Chris Baglio, is in North Carolina doing some pod festing, some pod fest conferencing at the Empowered Podcasting Conference, and he just knocked it out of the park, I know. So he is there traveling home. So I am doing this show solo today. So when Chris is away, Amanda will play. And so with 4th of July being this week, at least here in the States, we're going to be celebrating that on Thursday. I thought instead of doing some traditional patriotic songs, why don't we put a little patriotic spin to the songs by just talking about red, white, and blue songs. So that's what we're going to do today. This is going to be a hot mess because the Chris Vaglio himself is not going to be here to do all the buttons. But you know what? I figured out how to do the intro today. I'm really proud. And I even have a little ticker on the bottom that reminds everyone to subscribe to our YouTube channel. So if you wouldn't mind taking a moment to do that, that would be fabulous. We've already got some people tuning in with some comments. So let's go into those. And hey, listen, I should probably dive into, if you're new here, how the show typically works is there's Chris and there's myself, Amanda Sharp, and we swap songs and we rate them on a sliding scale of 1 to 5 records. This is when Chris would typically do 1 is a dumpster fire, and he has like a little machine and it goes wah wah wah. And then 5 is heavenly music to our ears that we will listen to on loop for eternity if necessary. And this is when he goes do-do-do-do-do. So that's how the show normally works. But today we're a one gal show because Chris, again, the fabulous co-host of mine, is in North Carolina. So let's tune into some of these comments real quick. So we've got Ian coming in with, looking forward to this, finally a person in charge who knows what they're doing. Chris isn't watching. Is he? He actually is, Ian. Ian is from Australia. So good to see you this morning. And then Dave Manley, the VP of all the VIPs, to quote Jack Burton, may the wings of liberty never lose a feather. Amen. And then Chris Baglio himself coming in with, I love you too, Chris, and I miss having you here. Boy, is it awkward without a partner in crime. Dave also saying, good morning, that girl is me. Hello and good morning to you, Dave. All right, so we've got some, Mr. Baglio. You go, girl. Thank you. That's Daddy Baglio right there. The one and only Chris's daddy. So like I was saying, we're going to do some red, white, and blue songs today. They're not patriotic, but I thought it would be fun. So forgive me in advance if I stumble on sharing the screen like Chris wouldn't do, but we're going to try our best. And I didn't give anyone a clue, minus Dave, what we are doing. So typically we have a lot of song suggestions that come into the comments, and we don't have that today because I kept this kind of like tight-lipped up until just yesterday. So I'm going to start with our very first song of today to go with red, and I am doing The Lady in Red. And it took it until yesterday for me to realize that it was The Lady in Red, not Lady in Red. And what song am I talking about? Let me pull it up. Because you may not know The Lady in Red, but you certainly have to know Lady in Red. So let's play a little bit of this so you guys can all know what I'm talking about. Oh, that is way too big for my head. Let's make me smaller. Spotify bigger. You guys know this song? I have so many memories of this song. Sure do. That is such a good song. So let me tell you, I even have my notes like Chris would have this week, you guys. So let me pull up my notes on The Lady in Red. I'm so proud. You know, you don't know what you're capable of until Chris isn't here. Okay, Ian, we're all here for you. Thank you. I need all the support that I can get. And today's going to be a shorter show, obviously, because there's just not going to be the banter that I would have if Chris was here. But just to talk a little bit about The Lady in Red, it is by Chris de Burgh. I don't know if you say de Burgh or de Burgh. We're going to pretend that I said it right. This is just typical of the show. He started writing this song about his wife, Diane, after an argument, but he was having a hard time finishing it. Part of the problem was that he needed a title. He didn't want to use The Way You Look Tonight because that had already been done. So 5 months later, he saw Diane wearing red and in a crowded nightclub, which gave him the idea of the title. On the British TV series This Is Your Life, de Burgh said that the song was inspired by the memory of when he first saw Diane and how men so often can't remember what their wives were wearing when they first met. On his website, he said the song was not specifically about Diane, but appreciating the most important people in our lives who we often take for granted, how we often fail to notice what attracted us to another person in the first place. In this account, he was already married to Diane, but he didn't realize it was her until he spotted her across the room. So I thought that that was very cute. So basically, did he like fall in love with another woman before he realized it was his own wife? Goodness, makes me think of the Pina Colada song. So let's go to some comments real quick before I go on a little bit more about that song. Oh, Chris, thank you. For those who are just listening, Chris is saying, great job. This is all you. It is, and it feels awkward. Ian saying, I See Red by Split. Ian Z is my favorite Red song. Okay, I don't know that one, so I'm going to have to listen to it. And Chris, Lady in Red was Patch and Kayla's theme on the days of our lives. Love that show. Love that show. So going back into Lady in Red a little bit more, Lady in Red was a huge worldwide hit, going to number 1 in 25 countries. 25 countries. That seems unbelievable. In the UK, it became a huge part of the cultural landscape, with listeners divided on whether it was the sweetest love song ever or just a pile of musical mush. He was never able to duplicate its success. Some of the movies this song appeared in are American Psycho, Dodgeball, Baby Mama, and Working Girl. So, where would I rate? And Chris isn't on this show today. So I feel like Chris would probably, Chris, don't answer yet if you're still listening. I feel like Chris would probably rate this song at like very average, 3.0. It could even go below the threes. I feel like this could be one of those songs that he's like, it doesn't do much for me. But where do I rate it? And since I'm the one on the show today, I'm going to give this one, if I had to rate this, like a 4.5. I have wonderful memories of being in the car with my mom on this song and listening to it. And I'm not one to wear red very often, but when I do, I feel pretty powerful. So I feel like this song is very impressive. So for me, I'm going to give it like a 4.5. Chris, you let me know what you would rate it, because I think you're at a 3.0 pretty even, maybe even a 2.9. Yikes. And he is saying he wouldn't choose to put it on. And I can see that from Chris. I can see that. So if you had to give it a number, what do you think it would be, Chris? And then while you're doing that, I'm going to say my next song, which you don't realize how many songs have these colors in them because they're really hard to choose from. So if I'm just trying to pick 3, it was very, very hard. So I just kind of went with the ones that my gut and my knee-jerk reactions went with. So that's why I went with the Lady in Red. And my white song is White Flag by Dido, because I love Dido. And before I jump into that, I'm going to hit with, before we move on to that song, Chris is choosing 3 records at best only because of Days of Our Lives. I really felt that. I knew that this could be a controversial 2-recorder if you were on here. So that's kind of fun. And then Ian saying, it's hard for me to believe as a kid that the Lady in Red and Don't Pay the Ferryman were both sung. That's fair, because you listen to some of his other music and it just does not hit. It's no surprise that this was really, I'll argue, a one-hit wonder of his. And then we've got Dave Madeley saying, sadly, Lady in Red is a 2 at best for me. I didn't much like it when it first came out. Then I heard it 500 more times that year. It was inescapable. That's fair. And I wonder if men have a different opinion of it than women, because if he wrote it as a love song to like a woman, to like a woo-woo woman, I think it might have did its trick, where men are kind of bored by it, right? Could be very fair. All right. White Flag by Dido. I love Dido. I love her thank you song. There's just so much to do. So I'm gonna play a little bit of song or a little bit of Dido's. Let me see. Oh gosh, Chris, this is where I need you. You do this so much more flawlessly. All right, gotta share my screen. Again, I'm too big. Make me small. This is a hot mess, you guys. I'm sorry. And then we're gonna play a little bit of White Flag. And the thing about White Flag is we all know that sometimes beginning of this is about a 30-second song. So I'm going to jump a little bit just so we can get into it a little bit
Still
more.
love you, I'll tell you that. But if I didn't say it, well, I'd still have felt it. Where's the sense in that? I promise I'm not trying to make your life harder. I'll return to where we were.
I know. Yeah.
But I will go down with this shit. And I won't put my hands up and surrender. There will be no white flag above my door. I'm in love and always will be.
All right. So that is a little taste of White Flag if you haven't heard it before. And so some facts about Dido's White Flag here is Dido met a lawyer named Bob Page in 1995, and he inspired some of the songs from her first album, including Thank You and Here With Me. Fantastic album. I love it so much. They got engaged, but then called off the wedding in 2002. Ultimately, she married another person in 2010. Now, keep in mind, all of this data, all of these facts are coming from songfacts.com. We are not sponsored by them, but we'd like to be. So songsfacts.com, if you hear this and you want to become a part of the Chris and Amanda show, it's very easy. And for anyone else for that matter, if you want to sponsor our show, we love it. We would love to have you, and send us a message at Chris a message, because Chris is so much better at that. Chris is better at everything. All right, back to White Flag. White Flag was the lead single from Dido's second record, Life for Rent, released in 2003. Dido is actually from England, but she came to America to launch her career, earning her a deal with Arista Records from her demo. And then what is very interesting is White Flag won for Best Single at the 2004 Brit Awards. It also earned Dido a Ivor Novella Award for the International Hit of the Year. So some pretty phenomenal things, considering her album really didn't do that well. And her biggest flex, I think, of everything is when she did the Stan collaboration with Eminem. And that we've talked about that song a little bit long time ago when we were doing our stalker show, which was a fun episode. So she's kind of on the map a little bit more up to date because of Eminem, but man, I loved her when she first came out. I just loved her music. And it's kind of that haunted, eerie sounding music a little bit is how I would describe it. And so when I was sharing it with people and I was saying, oh my gosh, I love this music. I love her so much. People were really questioning like if I was okay, because it does sound a little depressive a little bit, but I just connected to it at the time when it first came out. All right, let's check in with some comments. And when Chris is saying, it's because you're usually talking when he does this, referring to when I am saying, this is so hard without two hands. Well, no, four. I need four hands. Chris is just amazing at doing all the buttons behind the scenes. So thank you, Chris, for always taking care of that. And then Ian from Australia coming in with White Wine in the Sun by Tim, is it Minchin? Is one of his all-time favorites. Love it. Chris Baglio saying Stan is awesome. I really enjoy that song. And I can't remember if you put it on the list or I did. I feel like I may have. I'm not sure. I'll have to go back and listen, but I know it was on our list. And Dave Mattingly, the VIP of VPs, my red, white, and blue songs would be Red Skies at Night, The Fix, White and Nerdy, Weird Al, and Blue Monday, New Order. Very, very good choices. And Chris Baglio agreeing with Blue Monday. All right. So where do I rate White Flag? I'm going to start with Chris's probably rating on White Flag. I feel like Chris probably wouldn't like this one either. But again, Amanda will play when Chris is away. So I thought without penalty of really losing this episode, because we tally up and each week we have a winner, everyone. If you're new here, we don't really try super hard to win, but I mean, it's always fun when we can win. But I could put all the songs that maybe Chris wasn't going to like this week, knowing that I really wasn't going to be penalized. So for Chris's rating on White Flag, I feel like he definitely wouldn't have put it on. I could argue, I think he would skip this song and it may receive a 2.5. I could be wrong. Chris, if you have a moment to put in the comments what you think, if that's a true evaluation, I'd love that. If not, no big deal. You can catch me up later. And for me, I feel this song in my soul so much. And I have said I will go down with this ship so much throughout my life. So I really connect with those particular lyrics. So I'm giving this like a 4.8. It's not quite a 5. I don't think I want to listen to it every single day for the rest of my life. So I can't quite put it on my eternity playlist, but it's a 4.8 from me completely. All right. So Chris is coming in. He is weighing in with I Dig Dido. I'd say 3.3 records wouldn't skip. Okay. Chris, if you had a favorite song from Dido, which would it be? I think White Flag might be my favorite, but Thank You is a very close second. But all of her songs are phenomenal. All are phenomenal. All right, moving on to my final Blue song. It is, and I will say there were a ton of Blue songs to pick from. A ton of Blue songs. I would argue there are more songs with the color blue in the title than any other color. I could be wrong, but I think I'm right. There's so much blue. I almost put LeAnn Rimes Blue on there, but we had already put her on this list this season, so I skipped that one. And so I landed on Blue Velvet by Bobby Vinton. And this song just kind of transports me back to a time that I wish I would have been alive, if I'm being really, really honest. There's something about it that's just really very velvety. So let's actually listen to it just in case no one has listened to the song before. No, too big. Get my face smaller. When we're Spotifying it. All right, let's start with some Blue Velvet by Bobby Vinton.
She wore blue velvet, bluer than velvet was the night, softer than satin was the light from the stars.
That is so good. Back in a time when there was just those velvety voices that weren't highly edited. They just were really good at talent. So that is where Blue Velvet ended up on my list. And I could have swore this was in an episode of Mad Men. No matter how far I digged around, I just could not find where it was on there. One of his other songs were, but not this particular version. All right, so a little bit of song history about Blue Velvet. After the success of his song Blue on Blue, Vinton decided to record an album of blues songs, Blue Moon, Blue Hawaii, I Am Blue, and he was picking up sheet music in Nashville. Vinton received a gift from a publisher, Al Gallico. We're going to go with Gallico, now that I look at it better. A copy of Blue Velvet, which in 1951 was the last major hit for Tony Bennett. The song fit well with Vinton's project, and as every song on the album was blue in the title. This was considered a throwaway. I mean, how often do we hear that? Recorded in only 2 takes, Vinton was not impressed with the recording, but Epic Records released it as a single in response to a popular demand. His recording caught on, and it was considered the definitive version. I love that. So oftentimes what I love doing the show so much is when you dive into the history of every single one of these songs, one of these artists, so many of them were like, it wasn't my favorite, or it was done in one take. And those are often the ones that are the most fabulous or the most successful. So I always love hearing when it almost just didn't make it, or the artists themselves just didn't believe in it very much. And that was the thing that really, really stuck with them long term. And what is really funny, I don't want to say this is funny, but in 1986, a movie called Blue Velvet, directed by David Lynch, was released. The song had a prominent role. It was used in a gruesome scene where we discover a human ear that had been cut off of someone's head. The song completely contradicted the mood of the scene, which apparently was the point. The movie brought the song to a new audience, although it was now associated with a severed ear. Sometimes that's just what happens. And we see that oftentimes too, that there's something on TikTok, some sort of trend that just reinvigorates a song's success or popularity, and this new crowd, these baby listeners, now consume it and fall in love with it. So Blue Velvet is my blue song by Bobby Vinton. I love it. It's so good. I would say, well, let's see, before I give my rating, let's dive into what everyone else is saying. So Alex, welcome to the show. Appreciate you being here today. The red song for me was The Lady in Red, which I didn't know until yesterday that it was The Lady in Red instead of Lady in Red. So that is that one. And then Alex is also coming in and saying, oh my gosh, I was just thinking about that song. Were you thinking about Blue Velvet or White Flag? Let me know. And Daddy Vaglio is saying, great song. Have it on a 45. Jealous? Absolutely. And then Dave Manley, Amanda drops David Lynch. Now I've heard it all. It was just in my notes, Dave. And Ian from Australia saying, Blue Ain't Your Color by Keith Urban. Ooh, Aussie country legend indeed. That is a really, really good song. And I think I've shared before that he's not necessarily my favorite artist, but there is something about that song that I absolutely, absolutely like. Chris Baglio coming in, my red song, Red Barchetta? Is it Barchetta? Barchetta? Gosh, I need Chris here so bad to enunciate and pronounce the hard words. White by White Rabbit, or no, White Rabbit by Jefferson Airplane. Blue, Mr. Blue Sky by Yellow. Hello. This is the worst. Chris, did you give me those on purpose? And Chris coming in with, he loves the film Blue Velvet. Blue Velvet is awesome. Gosh, this is a struggle for me. All right. So where do I rate this? I'll tell you right after where I think Chris would rate this. I feel like Chris would feel connected to this. He likes the vintagey songs. So I can see Chris not giving this maybe 4 records, but maybe a 3.8. And I don't think he would skip it. And this may even end up on a Sunday playlist if I had to know, if I had to guess for Chris. So that's my thing, that it's like a 3.8, 3.9, ends up on a Sunday playlist and he won't skip it. Those are Chris ratings that I guess. For me, I definitely wouldn't skip it. This is on all the playlists. It's on my likes. It's on my, I'll even throw this one probably on my Working Through Life playlist just because it just feels right in sometimes those really hard moments. So this one, I don't want to listen to it over and over forever, but it's pretty close, darn near a 5 record too. So I'm going to nestle this one, Chris, in at 4.8. All right. So Chris is saying it's ELO. And then he's laughing at me because that's just what happens. And then Ian from Australia says Electric Light Orchestra. Yellow. Oh, okay. I mean, I guess that makes sense now. And Chris is saying 4 records, no skips, definitely playlist material. I was very, very close on guessing his rating on this. So this is my red, white, and blue playlist for this week. So we've got Red, The Lady in Red by Chris de Burgh. I still don't know if it's de Burgh or de Burgh. It could sound cool either way. White Flag by Dido, and then Blue Velvet by Bobby Vinton. And Chris is coming in with, he's giving me some party signals or party emojis. What are emojis? Yes, emojis. That's what emojis. My age is showing so badly today. Okay, I'll tell a little story before I wrap up this show. I went to Wendy's yesterday to get my baby some food because I didn't want to cook. No surprise there for anyone listening. I hate to cook. I'm not good at it. So I got him some food. And I ordered him 2 meals so that this makes me sound like a bad mom, but 2 meals so he could eat one for lunch and one for dinner. So it came with 2 soda pops. And they have this really, really high-tech soda machine. I mean, yeah, infused flavors, all of the things. And I went out, I grabbed my cups and I looked and I panicked a little. I panicked a lot. There were people around and I was like, gosh, I don't want to have to do that. I just want Dr. Pepper and Sprite. So I turned back and I politely said to the girl that rang me up, I said, I know this makes me sound really old, but that soda machine kind of overwhelms me. Can you get me a Dr. Pepper and a Sprite, please? And she did. I go, can you go to your drive-through window one and just fill me up there? And she did. So when we're talking about I managed to navigate all these buttons solo today, it's a big deal because Amanda can't even use a Wendy's soda pop machine. That's embarrassing. But I typically share some sort of embarrassing thing about me every single episode. So why not conclude this episode with such an embarrassing story too? All right. So let's go through some final comments before we wrap up this show. And I practiced opening the show. I didn't practice closing it. So who knows what that's going to look like. All right, so Ian from Australia is coming in with 5 records for Amanda's performance. You're so kind, and thank you so much. I'm a little sweaty. Whew, it was a lot. Chris Baglio saying he agrees with Ian. Dave Mattingly coming in. Ian, and an extra record for me. 6 records for Amanda. Thank you, guys. You really give me some false confidence. Very, very false confidence. Chris Baglio saying you're amazing. You're amazing. You all are amazing. And then Chris also saying the best show ever. Keep the compliments coming because that's the only way I can ever do this again solo. Chris, it's not the same without you. I'm sure the viewers and the listeners absolutely 100% agree with me. So we do this every single Monday morning, 8:15 Eastern Central Time. Every single Monday, typically, usually with each other. But today it was solo, as Chris has done solo episodes before without me when I usually am sick or something like that. So we would love for you to tune in. Find us everywhere that you listen or watch podcasts here on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the little bell, ding, so that way you are always reminded when we upload new content or go live. You can listen to us in all of the regular podcasting places. We put us everywhere. And just a quick thing, we now monetize on YouTube. So the comments, the likes, any kind of sharing, all of that good stuff helps us out tremendously. We don't want to brag, but we've made now $1.50, which is the same amount as our famous Patreon level. Yes, we are on Patreon too, where we have $1.50 Costco combo. little package that you can choose. So we've made just as much as we could get a hot dog and a soda from Costco. So Chris, let's go split one when we're together next. Oh no, Chris is saying $2 up today. Did it? Oh, I thought I was upset that Costco raised it to $2. You're saying we made $2. Wow, we almost can buy 2 now. We can only almost buy 2. All right. Everyone, we hope you have a wonderful 4th of July if you're here in the States. If you're not, just have an amazing week, and we will see you next Monday at 8:15 Eastern Central Time. And listen, I'm going to try and close this out without some craziness happening, but I doubt that I can. So I'm going to give it a try. Let's see what happens. So we will see everyone next week. Talk to you later. I went live instead of saying thank you. How fitting. All right, let's try this one.